a 43% pay raise. That's where your property taxes are going. If you want to know where your dollars are going, why it is you see this, 89, almost 90% increase in per pupil expenditures, when you see all this money flowing in but no results, it's because we're paying a lot of money to people who don't actually stand in front of a group of kids and make sure they're educated. You and I have to make sure that we are demanding real results for our dollars when it comes to public education. You simply cannot control the size of state government or local government without addressing public education. Public education is 1/3 of the state budget, and again, it represents about half to 2/3 of your local property tax bill. We have to get a handle on how it is we're spending our dollars. We have to start asking real questions about why do we do certain things, and it's not appropriate to answer them because we always have. I was in Switzerland a couple years ago now for a monetary policy conference. If you're going to go somewhere to talk about international monetary policy, I highly recommend Switzerland. You can be bored in Switzerland better than anywhere on the planet. We were traveling from Bern to Zurich, their political capital to their financial capital. So we're driving along in this little bus. I see these kids piling out of a school. Apparently, it looked like a school, flagpole, just look like a normal school. Kids, piling out, backpacks over their shoulders. So I looked at the guy sitting next to me who was Swiss and said, "Oh, is this like some holiday? I mean, it's just now lunchtime. Why aren't the kids leaving school?" And his response to me was, "Well, it's lunchtime." And I said, "Why aren't they leaving school?" They said, "It's lunchtime. We're leaving school. It's lunchtime." Went back and forth like that for about 15 minutes, so we realized it wasn't a language barrier. We're both just not talking to each other. And finally, he looks at me and says, "You mean kids in the United States eat lunch at school?" And he said it, like I just passed gas. And I said, "Yes, they do." And he said, "That's not what schools are for." And it hit me. I'd never thought of this. He said, and I said, "Well, but what do poor parents in Switzerland do who can't afford lunch for their kids?" And and here we just listened to all these people talk about how strong, again, this a couple of years ago now, how strong the U.S. economy was. Till that bubble went boop. And I'd given a presentation about Texas, and we're still doing well, so that's good to see. And he was just shocked. How could it possibly be? And he says this to me. He says, "I mean, there are people in your country who can't afford 2 pieces of bread and some ham?" And he was shocked by this. Wow, you're right. When you consider that poor people in the United States own, on average, 1.5 cars, 3.5 televisions, and name brand sneakers, blue jeans, and accessories out the Yahoo, according to the United States Census. They actually use out the Yahoo on census documents. When you consider how much stuff that poor people have, and yet we spend all this money providing lunch at schools because people are too poor to make lunch for their kids. We need to start asking more questions here. We need to start asking questions about what are we doing again? Because our schools are spending time and energy and effort on things that aren't critical to classroom education. They may be tangential, they may be related, but we have to start asking questions about why do we still do this? Now, Houston Independent School District, actually, I hate to suggest that Houston does anything right, certainly in education, but in public education, they've been doing some innovative things the past few years that no one talks much about. Houston Independent School District, they've got 10 billion kids and 19,000 high schools and everything else, it seems like. But they allow anyone in Houston ISD to go to any school within Houston ISD. Just because you live near High School A, you can go to High School Z, and it's open enrollment in all those classes. That means now all these principals and teachers and schools have to compete for students. They have to compete to get those students into their school. They do the same thing with food services. There are some campuses at Houston ISD that actually contract with the school district to provide food services. There are others that contract with Luby's, some who contract with Airmark, some that contract with other restaurant chains to provide for lunches. So they do some innovative things. They're driving down costs. Pretty exciting stuff. We need to be asking why more school districts aren't doing that kind of thing. Houston had to do it out of, necessity being the mother of invention. They had to do it because they were about to implode because of the costs. And so they started doing rational things as a result. We have to start demanding rational thinking from public education. But we can't stop with public education. We also have to look at health care. Now, everyone today has gotten all excited about Obamacare. I'm absolutely convinced that thing is dead. It's not going anywhere. We've all done our job of yelling and screaming about it. But I hope and pray that we don't walk away from Obamacare going, whew, wow, we dodged the bullet on state-run medicine. Because believe it or not, there's a bigger threat to us in terms of health care that has nothing to do with Barack Obama. It's a program that's been in place for, well, nigh on 45 years now. It's called the Medicaid program. Medicaid is 1/3 of the state budget. 1/3 of the state budget is Medicaid and then the attendant, other programs that go along with it. 1/3. One line item in the state budget. That's disastrous. The growth that we have seen going on in Medicaid is absolutely insane. And yet you and I have ignored it. We haven't talked about it. We don't pay attention to it because nice boys and girls don't talk about government spending in health care unless it's to yell and scream about Congress. You and I need to make sure we direct now that same kind of enthusiasm and passion at our legislature to reform Medicaid, reform the Children's Health Insurance Program, reform these things that are literally driving us into bankruptcy. But yet too many of our friends, when we talk about state government, they want to talk about toll roads, they want to talk about other things that represent tiny little slivers of money that really don't amount to much of anything and affect very few people. On the other hand, education and Medicaid CHIP represent 2/3 of the budget, and those are the things that are growing the absolute fastest. You and I have to make sure that we are yelling and screaming about those things just as loudly. And indeed, I suggest to you that we have to make sure that we, I love the name of y'all's group, Americans I guess my brain went absolutely blank. I apologize for, thank you. My brain went, poof, it just ended. It just kind of went off somewhere. I was in a nice, happy place with a blue sky, and it was wonderful. Looked like Lubbock, but none of you people were there. It's nice to think of ourselves as focusing on these big things. We as conservatives are very good talking about abortion. We're very good talking about, the Prime Minister of Israel. We're very good talking about monetary policy, the international exchange rate, the international monetary fund as it relates to the embargo of, somebody against somebody. We're really good about talking about those things. But we have to make sure that we are directing our attention at the very mundane things, the things that are small as well. That at the end of the day, the President of the United States, for all of the attention you and I give to that clown. That gentleman. And whichever clown it is, I'm an equal opportunity offender. The last several have all been rather buffoonish. That for all the attention we give to them, unless you hold the rank of colonel or higher in the United States military, a president can't do anything to you. He can't order you to do anything. He can't summon you anywhere. He can't do a single thing to you. On the other hand, if you want to see what real power looks like, make mad your county commissioner. County commissioners can shut down your road for repairs. How long do those repairs cost? And how do you get to your home precisely? I don't know. Not my problem. Shouldn't have made me mad. If you want to see what real power looks like, get on the bad side of your mayor. See how often the city health department shows up at your business and how suddenly many infractions there are of your business operations. They're required to be shut down every day until they're fixed. And if you don't think that your business is running afoul of some health code or other, take a look at the health codes for the city.